So Louis CK released a new special this week.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about this. We said last episode that we would all watch it and then talk about it. So if you guys have seen it, we're going to talk about it. We're not going to do any spoilers. We'll probably talk about some of the subjects of the jokes, but we won't spoil it for you. We'll just have a little bit of a broad discussion about it. I think it's very, very interesting. Firstly, I thought it was fucking great. I thought it was better than the last few he's done. I thought it was really, really good mainly, I think, because of what we were saying beforehand, was that he has something to prove now. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely my favorite special he's done. Although I'm not like the biggest Louis CK fan. Like, I think he's obviously amazing, and he's not he's not in my top three when I think he's in a lot of other people's top three. But
me neither, to be honest. I think he's top 5 for me, but not like, I think there's people that I prefer a lot better, but I understand that he's definitely one of the masters.
Yeah, he's amazing. And what I thought, like the last few specials, you're right, I didn't think they were that good. I don't think I even got through the last one. I think I stopped watching, but it just wasn't for me. But a lot of people still really liked it. But this one I saw, so when he first came back to comedy after what happened, the scandal, and him being a pervert, after that all happened, I saw him within about 3 weeks of him returning to comedy clubs in New York.
So cool.
When I was there. So it was like end of 2018, December 2018, I saw him 5 nights in a row do 40 minutes, and some of that material was in the special, and it was really interesting to see how that material had evolved in the last year and a half since I saw it. Because he was literally reading off notes when I saw it. It was like, oh, you know that thermometer? I'm not going to give it away, but the bits I saw was the closing bit he had really early about switching bodies with your mum. The thermometer bit about his French girlfriend and how French people use thermometers. He had that. And there was another bit. There was only 3 bits I recognized, but he had another 30 minutes that I saw that he didn't use.
Because I think before this special, like 50 minutes of his set was recorded secretly and was leaked online. And that went crazy viral. So he probably would have thrown a lot of that out. That's what I would have done.
So he ditched a bunch of shit.
I think so. I would say that a lot of the stuff you saw was probably thrown out because it got leaked.
Okay. Right. Yeah, well, that makes sense. It was, though, the shit that I saw was fucking good. Like, there was a reason why we kept going back every night to watch him. You know what shocked me, which was like, this was still pretty soon after it all went down.
Well, Luke, you weren't really a fan of Louis until all of the Me Too stuff. Then you were seeing him every night.
But, I'm not much of a comedy fan, but I'm a fan of his wanking. No, like, that's the thing. I was really conflicted watching him because we're from like a very conservative part of the world in Melbourne, and our comedy scene a little bit different to other people's. Now, I was with our mate Joseph Green at the time, and we knew he was going to come on. We got word from a few people like he's going to be here. We're like, all right, we'll go. And this was like the midnight show where we're like watching him at 1 a.m. every night perform for 40 minutes. And I was like, I wonder what the reception's going to be like when he walks on stage. You know, it might make some people uneasy. He's a bit controversial, you know. And even a lot of women in the room, I was like, how are they going to react? Dude, he got a standing ovation when he came on. Every night in a tiny little room, the Comedy Cellar, with 100 people, women on their feet, just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, dude, he might as well just like, it was like they were a few people, it was like the energy was like, get it out and show us how it's done, you know? It was just like, people were big fans of his work.
It's what he's been waiting for.
It was crazy.
And it was an interesting special. I felt for the first 20 minutes, I watched it with Jazz. She mentioned this too. I thought that he was a little bit nervous the first 20, which you would be. Because if you were recording your first special after all this stuff, you'd be like, fuck, this has to go well.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I mean, I got the vibe that he didn't shoot it twice. I got the vibe that he shot it once because he had stains all over his T-shirt.
He was real sweaty. That? He was really sweaty.
No, like on his stomach. I know he had pit stains, but he had like... He looked like
it was sweat. It was sweat because it was under his tits. Yeah, it was under his tits and then above his belly button. It was probably because he's on Prozac. One of the it's an antidepressant. He puts it in his thanks to Prozac. One of the side effects is excessive sweating. So it was probably that.
Oh, fuck, I'm such an arsehole. I thought he was trying to look more perverted. I was like, he's trying to just...
Well, you thought it was a cum shot up his belly. Like he did it in the middle of the show. He just, I just got to get this out of my system.
Just thought he was trying to, like, steer into the skid. I was like, you know what? He's hanging on to the hair. He looks... If he wasn't famous and you saw him on the street... And look, okay... I don't want to slam Louis because I think he's, you know what, whatever. I think he's a great comedian.
I'll do it for you. He looked like shit. He looked like Obama after the presidency, and he probably because he was even more stressed during that time period.
Dude, like he looks like if you saw him on a lineup of sex offenders and you were like, oh, this guy, like which guy jacks off in front of women for fun, you would be like him, 100% him.
Yeah.
And like you'd be like, yeah, that guy's got belly button sweat, of course. And that's just what I couldn't stop thinking about it but I think it's kind of cool the fact that he is, let's be honest, a millionaire and he just wears a plain black t-shirt every special and jeans. Yeah. He dresses like Steve Jobs.
He dresses like a piece of shit. It is funny. I think that him talking about all the stuff that happened to him, again, no spoilers, so we won't go too deep, but he made a really interesting point because when he got done for all this stuff, he came out and said it's all true. So that's what I believe is him saying it's all true. And then I think that the point that he made in the special was a really, really good one. He made a really great point about like sexual consent, and it was essentially along the lines of just because someone says yes doesn't mean that they're fully into it. Because women, he makes the point, which I agree with. Women a lot of the time are really, really good at seeming like they're comfortable when maybe they're not. So it's if you want to do a weird thing, which everybody has their weird thing. If you want to do a fucking weird thing, you have to attain like really, really clear, enthusiastic consent. Sometimes a yes is not enough. If it's just like that's not enough, I think, and that's the point that he made. And he was like, sometimes it's very hard to find out how enthusiastic someone is. So you have to be really careful. And I thought that was a great point that he made, and it really showed that he'd learned, I suppose, from what happened. Yeah,
and had any of this stuff happened recently, or was it really old? Situations like being brought up because of the whole Me Too thing, or was he doing it like on the reg?
From memory, I believe there were a few recent ones and a few old ones. Okay,
yeah. See, at the time, I just heard about the Sarah Silverman stuff, and it was so long ago now. I forget like the details of it all. I just remember that he came out, said he did it, and then he made a lot of people uncomfortable, and he apologized, didn't he?
Yes, right? He apologized.
I mean, not like that makes up for it, but yeah. I just thought. The one good thing was that he did acknowledge it. He acknowledges it like right near the end, and I was watching it. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe he's not acknowledging it. And
you save it for the end, of course.
Yeah, but I feel like it wouldn't have been a bad start though to just get it off the table.
I think it would have been funnier at the start because he did a little thing at the start, and it got like a crazy big laugh, and I felt the audience going, yeah, and then he just moved on.
I felt like it was almost just like tension in the room of like he hasn't addressed it for the whole thing. I'm like, you should have addressed it at the start. It's what everyone's watching it for. Address it at the start, and then it will like put the audience and the people at home at ease, being like, all right, he acknowledges it and he makes a few good points, and it was also pretty funny, the bit about it. Yeah. I really liked the bit about how he said, I don't want to spoil anything actually. It doesn't matter.
It was good. It was very funny. But it was very funny, but it also wasn't like, they're all lying. It was funny in the way of him like accepting that he did it and what he learned from it and how he can teach other people about it, which I think is a fucking great thing. And I don't think that he should be shit on for that, because what he did was bad, but it wasn't like a horrendous sex crime that you should never be able to come back from. From what I've read from it, because I read into it a lot, I think it was just, like he said, not understanding social cues as well as he could have.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything, but he had some really edgy jokes in there.
Yeah.
Like proper dark shit. And it was fucking great. It was very funny. And the way he just comes out with it and he says it and he doesn't, I don't think he's even trying to offend people. See, like if you watch like maybe, I don't know, who's like a particularly offensive comedian, like Anthony Jeselnik. You get the vibe like he's going out there to provoke people. That's his like kind of, whole thing on stage. But Louis kind of just says fuck shit and was like, and he just goes, "Rah." And I kind of like the way he's very open with himself. Like he talks about how gross he is while he's fucking his girlfriend. He talks about how disgusting he is. He calls himself a creep during the bit where he's addressing him. He's just so open. He blatantly calls himself a pervert at one point. And I think there's something, even if you don't like him, there is something a little bit likable about that. There's something appealing about a guy who just acknowledges all his mistakes in front of thousands of people.
And that's the perfect way to handle it. If you do fuck up and you're like a public figure, I don't know, just take time to think about it and learn from it and then teach other people about it and incorporate it into your art. I think it was perfect. And what was really interesting was, from what I've read online, there have been, no one gives a fuck. Like there's like with all this corona shit happening out there, when people's lives are actually affected by something real, none of this Twitter outrage is happening. None of these articles are getting any traction. Some of the journalists are writing these articles with like crazy headlines and trying to like shit talk the Louis special and trying to cause outrage over the bits, but it's just not taking at all, because the minute a normal person has a real issue in their life, all of this fucking offense shit goes out the window because it literally matters much, much less. I think this has really exposed how little this shit matters, because the moment we stop being like this incredibly privileged, lucky people and we have a problem to face, it all goes out the window.
Yeah, you can't be offended when you're dead. It's a bigger priority. Yeah, but I always think, but this is the attitude I guess we have because we're comedians ourselves. We have this attitude all the time. I think maybe a lot of people do, where it's like, it doesn't matter. It's a joke. Even if you disagree with it, even if it is wrong, even if it was offensive and they shouldn't have said it, the attempt, like the intent wasn't to ruin someone's day. The intent was to make people laugh, you'd hope. And so was there negative outrage? Because look, it was pretty edgy. There's one bit where he talks about a word that you're not supposed to use anymore to describe disabled people. And he's got a few bits in the past about it. He's done one about the F word, the homophobic F word. He has a bit in the past about that you're not supposed to... Yes.
Faggot and retard was the words.
And there was another one. Now, Lewis, are you going to say this one? There was the one he had an old bit about an N-word.
Remember. I don't think I've seen that bit. I can't remember that one.
Okay, you're not going to say that one?
I don't recall. No.
You sure?
Was it? Can you remind me?
No. I think you were going...
the first letter. What's the second? Maybe spell it.
No, you were going great, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen all of it. Ruben's got it.
Ruben's got it.
I think Keelan looked up articles. Keelan, did you find any like articles that were outraged or anything?
Were people offended by that bit? Because I was watching it going like, yeah, it's a good point that he makes. And
retard bit was the only one that I saw consistently come up. And then all the jokes on religion were the only ones that came up.
Really? The religious shit wasn't. The Boston Marathon thing was more offensive than the religion bit.
The articles were just like pretty much copy and pasting his whole paragraphs of what he was saying and then explaining why that was not necessarily an okay thing to say. The outrage wasn't really there. Yeah.
Right. I think that with the retard bit, he made his point that he was making with the joke was actually very progressive. I don't think this ruins the joke. The point he was making was, we stopped saying the word retard, but then also stopped seeing mentally disabled people at all. Like before, when retard was a medical term that was not offensive at all, you would see mentally disabled people in society and in culture and in TV and movies. And then all of a sudden, this word became super offensive and dangerous, which also meant, oh, fuck, we should take all of these people out of the spotlight because someone might get mad. And then they just disappeared. And now you don't see anyone fighting for them, I suppose, which I think was a great point.
I think some people just watch it to get offended.
Yes.
I think some people...
Journalists.
Yeah, I guess. True. I don't think anyone on Twitter, and obviously there are people who watch it to... I don't know why you'd ever watch a thing to get outraged. It's not like he was going out there and being like, fucking retards, bloody... He didn't call them like spazzes or anything. He wasn't he wasn't mocking their disabilities. He was just talking about the word and the connotation behind it and how it's changed over time. I didn't think the bit was even about people who had a mental disability at all.
It was about everybody else changing the word.
Yeah, it was about how everyone else treats them. But yeah, I thought it was great. Overall, I thought it was really awesome special and would recommend a watch. Are you allowed to recommend this special to people?
Yeah, I'd full on recommend it. It's one of the best specials I've watched all year. Really,
I got a message on Instagram. I uploaded a story where I was filming my computer screen and I didn't realize, but I had it in my downloads, the new special, like Sincerely Louis CK, and someone said, fuck, you're brave putting that in your story. And I
put it on my story on purpose.
I was like, how is that brave? Like, just because he's like, oh, you're supporting him financially. And I was like, well, I guess. Yeah, but he's a good comedian. I'm not supporting his jacking off. I'm not being like, mate, spend it on cum tissues, you know?
Yeah. That's the fucking thing. Like, I think that whole line of thought doesn't make any sense because, yes, he made a mistake. He admitted to it. But in the special and with his actions since then, it's not like he's done it again. And he said that he's learned from it and he's trying to educate other people as well who could make the same mistake. What more do you want from the guy who didn't really commit a heinous crime? He just made like a series of mistakes, I think. If you can't make mistakes and come back from it, what the fuck is the point of being human? That's what I think.
It's pretty cool that he kind of, going back to Louis, he kind of came back from a good proper cancelling, you know? He almost did a Logan Paul in a way. Like, he got fucked up by, like, Twitter and stuff. He wasn't allowed to do shows. He mentions it in the special. He's like, I was in Poland because that's where I can do shows now. Like, he pretty much got thrown out of the fucking country. And to come back to write a great hour and to prove once again that he's one of the greats, I thought was cool to watch.